I'm hoping you can relate to this too, where you get frustrated about something and then your brain just spirals and that's what you're thinking about for the rest of the day or the week. You're just so focused on it and gone through every story in your mind, and now you've created every scenario that could possibly go on, what this person said, what that person said, and you've just spun yourself up so much that now you're just furious, or you're so worried or so anxious. This is something I talk about with clients a lot, and I myself have experienced a lot too. There's so much healing power in getting out of our minds by getting into our bodies. Sometimes we spend so much effort focusing on internal problems, whether they're physical problems or in our minds, that we end up perpetuating them by focusing on them. Perhaps getting out of our mind by getting into our body and getting out into our life and actually living it, we can soften these problems and these symptoms that we're experiencing. Maybe you've noticed that when you're struggling with something and you focus on it more, it's like more of that thing seems to come. An easy one for so many people is like acne. They focus on their acne and then they get more acne. Or something bad happens in your life and then you start seeing even more bad things, and then more bad things start to happen. Something really interesting happens when we stop spinning out in our minds and we actually get into our body and into living our lives. I have such an interesting period of time where this really was true for me. For a long time, I struggled with like PCOS and hormonal symptoms, and I was gaining and losing weight all the time, and I was so focused on like macro counting, trying to get lean, because I thought if I could just get lean, like so many of these other problems would feel so much better. I would feel better about myself. And I was so focused on it for years. I would focus on doing everything I could do, and I was so spun up in my mind, like that's all I thought about. And then one summer I decided I was going to train for a really big bike race. For me at the time, this was huge and felt not impossible, but like it was going to be like the hardest thing I've ever done. I trained for the Corte Fondo, which is like a 117-mile bike race in Coeur d'Alene. It was going to require that I trained a lot, that I trained on weekends, and it was going to push my body to places that it probably had never been pushed before. I mean, I needed to be able to ride for like 8 hours straight or get really fast so I could finish it quicker. But what I will say about that summer is it completely changed my life. I was no longer focused on solely getting lean. All the hormonal symptoms I was having, the acne I was struggling with, the weight loss that I couldn't seem to figure out. I was now focused on showing up for these bike rides consistently, fueling my body so that it would recover and felt good during the ride. I felt so much more confident in my ability to follow through and do what I said I was going to do. I was spending so much time outside, and oftentimes when I would get on the bike, it would give me a chance to like process some things and think some things through. But because I was on the bike for so long, eventually I would just be so present and thinking about like how tired my legs felt and how I needed to eat some food and drink some water. And I know this sounds so simple, but this summer was seriously life-changing. This was it. By the end of the summer, I had lost so much weight. The acne on my face was gone. I felt more connected with myself than I'd ever felt. I felt more confidence than I had ever felt. And there are so many reasons that we can dig into here. But the point is that when we can get out of our minds and into our bodies, so many things can happen. And while I think pursuing these big athletic endeavors can be a great gateway for a lot of people, I also think there are small ways that we can implement this, especially when we're just feeling spun up in our minds. Sometimes by just getting into our body for a minute, it can kind of help soften that, and then we can revisit the thoughts. When we feel like we're spinning out in our mind about one specific thing, or like it's been years of just focusing on our body and wanting to lose weight or something like that, it often internally feels like we're just chasing something constantly. Like we're never actually going to get there, and we're just chasing and trying to fix this problem always. It can feel very turbulent, and like things just are constantly getting better and then worse and better and then worse. And like we're all over the place for years. It feels very stressful and discouraging. and like we're just never going to figure this out for ourselves, and we're never going to get a handle on this and be able to just live our lives and not be so focused on all these symptoms that we're experiencing or these problems that we're spinning out about in our heads. It can feel like we're constantly waiting for the next bad thing to happen, for the symptoms to come back, for the weight to come back, or for the next thing to just pop up that's wrong. You might find yourself saying, I think I found another thing that it could be. I think I figured out the problem. I think I found what might actually help. You might find yourself finding all these gadgets that are going to make your body feel better, that are going to make these problems in your life go away. You might find yourself just talking in circles about the same thing and just spinning out and coming up with this whole storyline of what happened or what's wrong with your body or what happened in your relationship or what happened at work or what happened with your kids. When you're in the thick of this for a long period of time, you might be thinking, just need to find someone that knows the answer, that knows what to do. You might find yourself feeling anxious all the time about things that are happening day to day or about more like long-term extended things you've been struggling with. And what we find ourselves thinking but not saying out loud is like, I just wish I could freaking live my life and not focus on all of these health problems or spin out about these problems all the time. These things in my life are just consuming all of my bandwidth, and I just feel like if I could go live my life, some of these things would soften. Sometimes we find ourselves thinking like, will this stuff ever go away? Will I ever be able to stop just spinning out about everything? Will I ever feel like I'm not just trapped in my own mind? And we often find ourselves making it mean that something is wrong with us, something is wrong with our body, that our body doesn't work like everyone else's, that we just need to stop stressing so much, that the grass is greener on the other side. I mean, the list can go on of all of the things that we make it mean when we're spinning out. Sometimes when we're spinning out for short periods of time or extended periods of time, sometimes what we're actually doing is avoiding the very thing that we need to lean into. We're avoiding facing the really hard thing that we know we need to do, the difficult conversation, the letting go of control. Sometimes we're avoiding facing the really hard truths about ourselves, that we're a perfectionist, that we're hyperfixating on things, that we're obsessive about things. We've all heard the saying, where our focus goes is where our energy flows. But it is really helpful. And when we're constantly focusing on symptoms that we're experiencing in our body, we're creating and generating a lot of fear around those symptoms, which moves our body into fight or flight, which causes more of these symptoms, which then we focus on more, which generates more fear, moves our body into fight or flight, generates more symptoms, and we're stuck in this fear focus loop. So this can happen like for long-term things, of course, and then short-term when we're spinning out about something that just happened at work, something our boss said to us at work. We're focusing on it so much, and now as we all know, we've spun up all of these stories. We've now projected it at anyone who's walked in front of us. We've now created all of these other problems because we're so grumpy, and we've created this whole storyline, and now everything in our life has become a problem. So I want to offer you this. By getting out of your mind and into your body, it can kind of help quiet some of this noise that's going on in our mind and enable us to be present for just a moment. It can provide us a little bit of relief that you can finally go live your life for a minute. Oftentimes what we're focusing on is not the real problem to begin with. Often this hyperfixation and continuing to focus on something is not the real problem. It's perpetuating the problem. Yes, we need time to be with our thoughts, to learn how to pivot our thoughts, process them. All of that is very true. But sometimes we need to move our body to move through the emotion and come back to our thoughts later when it's not so emotionally charged. Maybe by focusing on creating experiences in our life that move us into a higher frequency, like the bike race for me, it might completely change the way that you're showing up and experiencing your life and allow you to have some of these breakthroughs that you're looking for. A more supportive approach, or what this actually looks like in real life, is finding small ways to get into your body. So whether that's some breath work, going for a walk, planning some things on your weekends that require you to get outside and move your body and do activities in nature. When you're feeling consumed by your thoughts, or you're just spinning out Finding a way to move your body can be really helpful. Walking, jogging, jumping, mountain biking, camping, whatever it is for you that lights you up and brings you joy, going and doing that for a little bit. Nature can be so healing for so many people. And on like a much bigger front, maybe you commit to a big physical endeavor that is pushing your body in a way that it's never been pushed before. I'm not saying this is the solution, and I'm not saying that we should use it as a buffer or a hiding habit, because I think some of us use physical activity to hide from problems in our life. But I do think it can be such a great opportunity for healing. It can be a great way to connect with yourself in a way you never have. A great way to focus on how to fuel your body, how to give your body what it needs, how to actually listen to your body. It can be a great way to practice showing up for yourself, to pushing your limits, it can be a great way to practice prioritizing things and setting boundaries, because you have to show up for yourself. There are so many things it gives you access to and challenges that it puts in front of you that enable you to stop focusing on all of these physical things that you feel like are problems for you. It can stop making your body the problem. It can feel really challenging because it's so much easier to spin out in our minds. We just fixate and focus on these problems, and we think that we can just think through a solution even though our emotions are super heightened. It's also really normalized to outsource all of our healing. So we think that we don't have the power within us to move our body out of feeling anxious, to move our mind out of spinning out, to go live our life, and inevitably the weight falls off. Our culture is built around systems and routines and habits that perpetuate spinning out in our mind and living in anxiety all the time. We wake up and grab our phone right away, respond to text messages, to emails. We're constantly serving other people immediately. We avoid feeling things by scrolling on our phone. We reach for things to buffer, to avoid feeling hard things, to just take the edge off the day. A lot of us don't have people in our life that we truly trust where we can help process some of these things. And so many of us have practiced self-doubt for a really long time. And when we've practiced spinning out over and over and over again, it can be really hard to kind of stop that and get out of our minds and into our bodies and practice something different. I'm not saying it's easy, but it is simple. I invite you to ask yourself, what brings more life to my life? What lights me up and makes me feel really excited? Okay, now if I set a really lofty goal around that, what could that unlock for me? What if I just focused on that for one summer, for 1 year, and let all this body image, all this fixating on my body being the problem go for a little bit, and just focused on this amazing physical endeavor just for a year, this thing that lights me up, and see where it takes me. I challenge you to think about the last time you were spinning out and how might it have helped you if you stopped that, moved your body, and came back to it later. I also challenge you to ask yourself, how does it feel when I shift my focus from focusing on all the problems in my life, all the things that are wrong with me, to creating experiences in my life that bring life to my life, that make me feel alive? Just do that for a moment. Think about some big physical thing that you want to do or something that you want to experience. When you put yourself in that situation, how do you feel? Even just thinking about experiences that you want often generates so much excitement in people, positivity, gratitude. It really moves us into a different frequency. One more question I might challenge you to ask is there any chance I am contributing to my own suffering? Is there any chance by letting some of that go just for a moment, that I might be able to experience a little bit of relief? There's a chance that when we're spinning out in our minds or focusing on our body as a problem, that getting into our bodies might provide some relief. Maybe by moving our body, it helps us move some emotion through our body, and we can revisit all those thoughts later. Or maybe by getting out of our mind and really getting into our life, we're able to kind of let go of unnecessary weight and unlock the true feelings that we're looking for in life. I would love to hear if this resonates with you, and I would love to hear something that feels like it brings more life to your life and how you're planning to integrate that. In an upcoming video, I'm hoping to talk about the things I learned from training for this big bike race, the things I learned about myself, about my body, and the changes that it really made in my life. So I encourage you to follow along and share your stories with me too.